Hey folks, BJ Waterfowler here. Today we're going to barbecue some ribs. These are going to be Memphis style dry rub ribs. These are my favorite way to make ribs. It's very easy to do. I've had a few people ask me about how I do my ribs. I know everybody has their favorite way of doing ribs, and we're going to do it right here on this little grill like anybody might have in their backyard. Nothing special about the ribs. They're just pork spare ribs. They're Tyson brand. You can buy them about anywhere. These are great. We cook them real slow over this small grill with a small fire. I'm going to smoke them with the little pecan wood that I've got. Any kind of hickory, mesquite, cherry, apple, whatever you happen to have that you like and is available to you is what you can use. The rub that I'm going to be using is a Rendezvous. It's a great rib place over in Memphis, a block off of Beale Street. If you ever get to Memphis, that's a fantastic place to have some ribs. So let's take these into the kitchen. I'll show you how I prep the ribs and how I get the dry rub on them. Meanwhile, we're going to make us a fire in our little barbecue grill here, and we're going to have some great fall off the bone wonderful ribs. I know everybody has their special rib recipe and everybody's got their, they make the best ribs or the best barbecue. I'm not going to say mine are the best, but I've never had a complaint, and I love them, and everybody that's tried them's loved them. So give this a try. I think you'll be happy with it. Let's go into the kitchen and we'll see how we get these babies ready to go on the grill. Alright, here we are, we're in the kitchen. We've got our ribs. All I did was take them out of the package and rinse them off with cold water, and patted them down lightly with a towel to dry them off. And a couple of things we're going to do here. Here's what I'm going to use. One thing is we're going to use a brown spicy mustard. This happens to be the Great Poupon. It doesn't matter. Your store brand, any kind of spicy mustard is what I like to use. That's what we're going to put on the ribs first. Now, a lot of people will say, doesn't that make them taste like mustard? It does not. You cannot taste the mustard when these come off the grill. It gives it a very unique flavor and adds to it, but it does not make it taste like mustard. Now, this is the Rendezvous. This is the seasoning that I was telling you about. It's available online. It's not very expensive. This is the original stuff from the restaurant. There's several different copies of this recipe that you can get online. Just type in Rendezvous and there'll be all kinds of spin-offs of this. Okay, here's an important thing about doing these ribs. The first thing we're going to do to prep them is that we've got this flap of meat right here. We're going to slice this off. That's just going to come off. Now, I'm going to go ahead and grill this because that's great to kind of taste and test of when your meat's getting done and how good your fire is. Now, here's an important thing to make your ribs fall off the bone tender. There's a membrane on the back of these ribs. Actually, there's two membranes, and you're going to want to take one of these membranes off, the upper one. You can see it hopefully in the video right here. We'll get it started on the end like that, and then we're just going to go through and just tear this off, just like this. Very easy to do. You can see all that membrane is going to come off. That's what's going to make these really, really tender and make that meat fall off. So we're just going to take that off from there. We're going to throw that away. Make sure that we've got most all of it off. It gets a little shorter back there. So good thing. Now we've still got that lighter membrane right here that's going to hold our meat together so they don't fall apart. But we're going to take that thick, tough membrane off, and that's going to allow this stuff to be really tasty tender. All right. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to coat these with this mustard. And it doesn't have to be a lot. We just slather a good thin coating of this mustard. Of course, I just use my hands. Get in there with it. This is great. This has given me a chance to use this new camera. Been looking for an excuse to make a video. Alright. Now, for the seasoning, and we're going to really put a bunch of dry rub on there. Get a good coating of that. Now, you don't want to put this on any earlier than 2 hours before you put these on the grill. There's no reason to put this on and let them sit overnight or sit all afternoon or whatever. Just put it on about 2 hours at the most. As a matter of fact, this is only going to be on here for a little bit because as soon as my fire is done, these are going on the grill. So a good heavy coating of this dry rub, and that's all there is to it. We're going to cover these up and wait for our fire to get done, and then we're going to go back out there and I'll show you what we're going to do on the grill. Since it's a small grill, I will say this, all we're going to do is come through here and we're going to slice these in half, just like so that they'll fit on the grill, because we're going to have our fire on one end and our meat on the other, because we want indirect heat. I'll go check on the fire and then we'll get to putting these on the grill, and I'll see you in a little bit. Alright folks, here's what we've got going. We've got our ribs all seasoned up with our mustard and our dry rub. Now we've got a pretty good fire going here. Now I don't use gas. All I use is charcoal. I don't like gas grilling. I'm a charcoal fan. I love charcoal. This is a gas grill, but I've taken all the gas stuff out of it. What we're going to do is we've got a pretty hot fire going here, and we're just going to put this stuff on. And what I want to do with these is I want to sear the meat. So I'm going to put this meat directly on the fire, right on my heat, and that's going to sear that meat. And what it's going to do is skim that over, and it seals in all of our flavor. So I'm going to let that cook real good. I'm going to turn them over, let it cook real good, and then the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to wrap these up in foil, and then I'm going to move my fire down to this end of my grill, and I'm going to move my meat over to this end of the grill, so we've got indirect heat, and we're going to let them sit there and cook for about 6 to 8 hours. Now, as far as the heat goes on these, if you've got a meat thermometer, what you're going to want is to keep them around 230 to 250 degrees. That seems to really cook them down good to where they are that tender, really great falling off the bone texture to them. They won't get quite that tender if you let your heat get down around 200. So wrapping them up in foil, that's going to keep them moist, and keeping your fire down here and keeping your meat down here, that's going to keep everything where they won't burn. Now another thing is, these are just dry rub. You're welcome to put sauce on here, your barbecue sauce if you want a wet type barbecue, whatever your favorite sauce is, if you've got a homemade sauce or a store-bought sauce, but don't ever put your sauce on until the last 15 or 20 minutes of when you're cooking these. What happens is the sauce has so much sugar in it that's what's going to burn, and that's what's going to make them turn black and look charred. So I don't put any sauce on mine. If you want sauce, put the sauce on after you take them off the grill. If you want it on the grill, that's fine, but only do it in the last 15 or 20 minutes of when you're grilling. Now when we get to the smoking part, this is what I'm going to use, is I'm going to use pecan, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that when I get these wrapped up in our foil. Right now we're going to sear both sides of these, and I'll come right back to you as soon as this is done. We're going to sear this side, flip them over, sear the other side, and I'll be right back.